Well, folks, good evening to you, one and all. And yeah, it's that time of the week that we do that which we love, going out onto the circuit on our iRacing rigs and getting the feel of what it's like to do some serious iRacing. It's going to be a great one. I'm pretty sure that everybody that's out there is going to enjoy this combination as such. And I do believe that with the size field that we've got, it's going to be pretty impressive. So onto the grid they are, and it's Willem Botha and Gerald Fourie that's at the front end of the field. Now, the two of them down into turn number one, that is going to be something else because those two are not going to give way for one another. You better believe it, it's going to be a serious one-on-one. Behind them will be Leon van Wyk, Graham Stephen, Daniel Lamprecht. Hello, welcome Daniel, and Sandra Bakari, the leading Grandmaster. Timothy Stanton and Peter van der Spey, Herman Lazarus, Gerald Maget, and Leonardo Bakari that's got his rig all sorted out. And he's pretty much good to go once again with his new equipment out there. So, this is going to be sliding, hard braking, lockups, high-speed four-wheel drifts. It's all going to be in there as they work their way around. Willem Botha in the Race Driver SA Esports entry. Timothy Stanton, what can the success story of 2024 put together for today's racing? As they work their way around. Some lovely car driver combinations out there. That is a very, very fast section of the circuit that you see there. Pretty flat foot down one gear as you come through there. Use all of that curbstone. As you see the line that Willem Botha was on. So Graham Stephen's going to be in there as well. Graham Stephen and Leon van Wyk. That's going to be one massive, massive battle. Going down towards turn number one. Daniel Lamprecht, a new kid on the block. Sandra Bakari, can he hold Peter van der Spey at bay? Peter van der Spey's done some very strong races so far for season 13. This being round number 2. 4 races so far. 3 out of 4 wins for Sandra Bakari. 1 for Peter van der Spey. So Leonardo actually is going to be under a lot of pressure to get past the likes of Gerald Maget and Herman Lazarus and try and get into that battle, because that's what it's going to be. I wouldn't say car wars, it's going to be one hell of a battle. Graham Stephen right in there, Leon van Wyk as well. They work their way around. Now this is all high-speed stuff going down here. The entry to this left-hander is actually very, very important because the amount of speed that you can carry after the apex of this corner from a roundabout here, that's not your racing line, that's just because they're side by side. From here it's flat foot all the way over the blind rise underneath the Fox Factory Bridge. Gazoo Racing empowered BMW on pole position with Willem Botha. And it's all system go as they work there. Oh, look at Graham Stephen was having a look on the outside. Leon van Wyk's going to go for that inside line and try and close Graham off. And he does a pretty good job of it. But Graham gets good drive through there. Holds on to that one now. Through the S's they're going to go. It's Willem Botha from Gerald Fourie. Then it's Graham Stephen, Leon van Wyk behind that. Sandra Bakari has already made up one position on Daniel Lamprecht. And Timothy Stanton is right there in the hunt as well. That is the green car. Up the hill they come. Willem Botha has already got a little bit of a gap at this stage of the fight. Sandra Bakari and Leon van Wyk going in a massive titanic struggle there as they work their way through. It's Willem Botha that's right up front. Behind Willem Botha comes the rest of that pack with Gerald Fourie, Graham Stephen. Then side by side, Leon van Wyk and Timothy Stanton is right in there behind that. He wants a piece of that as well. Here's Timothy Stanton. Down the hill they go. It's Daniel Lamprecht that's dropped down to 7. He started in 5th position and has a bit of a drop down in the pack so far. Now it's hammered down in the 141. Over the blind rise they go, and it's flat-foot all the way through. That'll be up into probably by there already going to be in a 5th gear as the whole crew file their way through. Willem Botha, the quickest man, on a 121. Oh, that was pretty wide, but look at Willem Botha. Willem Botha from Gerald, from Graham. Look at this battle behind that. Sandro Bakari in the Sky entry. Isn't he just doing a brilliant job? He's made a gap between himself. Oh, he runs a little bit wide, does Sandro Bakari. And Leon van Wyk works his way through. Who's that that's up against the wall? Wow, dropping down pretty badly. The Toyota Gazoo entry of Willem Botha, and he's gone back to the pits as Willem Botha. Gerald Fourier's got a gap from Graham Stephen. Graham Stevens got a gap from Sandro Bakari. What a brilliant drive once again by Sandro Bakari. Like Timothy Stanton was the success story of 2024. I think we're going to end up at the end of this season saying Sandro Bakari is the other great up-and-comer who is, oopsie, a little bit of contact there, trying to hold on to that one. Timothy Stanton gets the best of that. It's Gerald Maget that moves up one on Pieter van der Spey. Leonardo Bakari's past Willem Botha, who went into the pits. Willem Botha, in fact, still is in the pits. Pieter van der Spey was involved with the incident there. Let's just see what happened to Pieter van der Spey. Comes in pretty deep, gets tipped by, I think it was Leonardo Bakari, runs backwards off the circuit. That's going to make it very difficult for him to try and get back into it from there. Pieter van der Spey is in fact into the pits. Gerald Fourie, in the absence of Willem Botha, has now got a bit of a gap on everybody else. Look at that, just power sliding as he comes out of the corner. Graham Stephen as close as he can be. Sandro Bakari, he's got the pressure on, but if he looks in the mirror, that's what he sees. Sandro Bakari looking back to the bat entry, and a light little nibble. The Being IT car is trying to have a look up on that inside line. Can he make that one stick? It looks like he's in with a chance, but you don't get past Sandro Bakari that easy. Sandro holds on. He's got to cover that inside line because it's Timothy Stanton. That's the next car in there behind that. Sandro Bakari covers the line, but will he be quick enough coming out of the corner and over the blind rise? Timothy Stanton's having a look. Timothy Stanton wants to get his nose in there, and talking about nose, we go with the nose cam of Timothy Stanton through the start-finish mark of 4 minutes into this 25 minutes, lap number 4. What a pace this is as we ride on board with Timothy Stanton. The Being IT entry directly in front of him of Leon van Wyk, using the track and a little bit more. It's flat foot from here, down through the dip, clip the curbstone, try and get it in a straight line onto the brakes, one gear down, use that extra section of the circuit. Now you're coming up towards a semi-blind rise. Carry as much as you can. Now all the way down here, you've got to pick first or second gear. If you're in first gear, you've got to play with that accelerator. If you're in second, it's a lot smoother, but not necessarily any quicker at all. Let's have a look at the intervals that is there so far. And Leon van Wyk is the man that is very, very close to the back end of Sandro Bakari. He's going to have a look for a dive on that inside line. He's going to go for the outside. Sandro Bakari is holding out very, very neatly. Timothy Stanton looking, watching and waiting. Not that far behind. Timothy Stanton is the man that started in fifth position with those bright yellow wheels on his car. And that's looking pretty good at this stage of the fight as he works his way past the start-finish line. Hammer Lazarus in that 7th position, but on his way up the hill is Sandro Bakari with that pressure from behind. Sandro Bakari holding out very, very neatly. He's got Leon van Wyk that he's putting a lot of pressure on, but he's got to keep an eye on what's happening behind him while all that's on the go. With Willem Botha that has come back out of the pits, he's the only, well, in fact, there's two. Willem Botha and Pieter van der Spey that's been in and out of the pits. Willem Botha that had an incident up against the wall just after turn number 5. And Pieter van der Spey that got tipped by Leonardo Bakari as they tried to use the same piece of car at the same time. The two of them in and out of the pits. But Daniel Lamprecht is now coming back. Daniel Lamprecht Let's ride on board with Daniel Lamprecht and see what it looks like when you're chasing down those cars in front of you. Look at that. What a tempting sight. Oh, he went just a little bit too deep in the first section of the S's. That's cost him pretty badly. But Sandro Bakari is having a look, and he's going to have to go to the outside line as Leon van Wyk holds him off. And I think he's going to go over that blind rise with at least 3-4 car lengths between the two of them. Tip the brake, use that curbstone. Oh, he got a good drive through there. That was good. Leon van Wyk looking omnipotent, but look at the gap from Leon van Wyk through to Graham Stephen, the better part of 4 seconds. So being caught up in that scramble has actually cost him pretty very badly, because that means the front two have literally up, dusted and disappeared. Let's see, does he use second or does he use first? Well, he obviously has good throttle control. Look at that, no wheel spin whatsoever. He just eased the power in as we ride on board with Sandro Bakari. Lap number 6 that we are in, and I think that Gerald Fourie is pretty safe at this stage of the fight. 2.7 seconds he has on a Graham Stephen. He's got the better part of 4 seconds on Leon van Wyk. But having said that, Leon van Wyk has got that looming behind him. Leading Grandmaster Sandro Bakari with Timothy Stanton starting to now put some more pressure on as he gets right into the slipstream. Is he going to be close enough to go for a dive? I don't think so. Timothy Stanton's not one to take unnecessary chances. He's very, very consistent and smooth. The slightest little mistake by Sandro. Now remember, Pieter van der Spey's been in and out of the pits. He is the closest competition to Sandro Bakari, but having had that spin, can Sandro Bakari get in and out of the pits in the latter part of this race and still come out in front of him? Probably yes. I would be surprised if he's not able to do that, as Timothy Stanton got himself to within a half a second of Sandro Bakari. Now that first gear corner, and get the power down nice and smooth. Look at the battle going on behind that. It's Herman Lazarus that's got a bit of a gap between himself and Daniel Lamprecht. But Daniel Lamprecht is having a very, very good run right now. It's looking quite fine for him, as he's probably going to... No, he's not going to be able to make up that position, the Toyota Gazoo car. But now he should have the drive to be able to make the move past from there. He got good drive. He's up on that inside line. He should be able... No, he backs out of it. Daniel Lamprecht backs out of a one-on-one with Timothy Stanton. 9 minutes 13 into the 25 minutes. Lap 8 of a possible 20 laps. And the gaps are opening up just a little bit. Timothy Stanton still on the back end of Sandro Bakari. Down the hill they go. Lifted very lightly there. You could see he was closing too quickly on Sandro Bakari. Timothy Stanton, 0.3 of a second. Is he going to go for a dive in the second part of this double right-hander? I think he's going to probably go right down to first gear. No, he chooses that safer option, the second gear option. Now you'll probably find, we'll watch Sandro Bakari next time he goes through there. Sandro Bakari got a bit of a drop of him coming out of the corner, and that's probably because he was prepared to take the chance on first gear, feather the accelerator to not pick up undue wheel spin, and then go for it from there. Down into the brake markers, closes up pretty neatly, but can you get a sweet line coming through? Yes, he does. Oh, he just keeps it on the hard and narrow. Just in front of them is Leon van Wyk. Now, Leon van Wyk's actually put in some pretty quick lap times. Let's have a look. Is Leon van Wyk doing enough right now? Leon van Wyk a 116.2. Yes, he is a 116.2. Sandro a 116.25, a 116.4 by Timothy Stanton, the man that we ride on board with. But he is now in the slipstream. Is that slipstream going to be enough? Now, probably Timothy Stanton won't go on the attack on Sandro Bakari if Sandro Bakari is catching up to the back end of Leon van Wyk. If Sandro Bakari is not able to start closing on Leon van Wyk, then Timothy can't just sit, look, watch and wait for something to happen in front of him. See that second gear coming out of the corner? You can use first gear there, but the power to weight ratio on these GT3 cars is massive. So you've got to be very, very careful as to how much power you put down there. Let's just have a look at the layout of that circuit. That's what it looks like. Apart from the word called the S's, everything is just turn number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's how it goes. So it's an iconic circuit, but it's not exactly iconic corners, names as such. As Gerald Fourie is going to work his way through, he's completed yet another lap as he goes up over the blind rise. It's looking pretty good for him right now. All he's got to do is keep it nice and fine. Now remember, Gerald Fourie, the father of Leighton Fourie, South African Polo Cup champion of 2 years back, who's now racing overseas in the Porsche series, and that's why we don't see his son Leighton out there. Graham Stephen, one of the frequent flyers, Leon van Wyk, and I think that Sandro Bakari is probably closing just a little bit on the Being IT entry. Sandro Bakari is doing a brilliant job. Let's have a look at who has been in and out of the pit so far. It's only the two people that was involved in the incident earlier on, which is Pieter van der Spey and Willem Botha. Both of them having been in and out of the pits, and in fact Pieter van der Spey is a long way ahead of Willem Botha. So I don't see Willem Botha getting a good result out of this one at all. Behind Leon van Wyk, Sandro Bakari. Behind that is Timothy Stanton. See the Stanton sign writing on the side of the 77 car. That was a very good exit that he got there. 16-1 for Sandro, a 16-1 for Timothy. Wow, there's no, in fact a 16-1 for Leon van Wyk as well. Now Leon van Wyk was 4/10 quicker than Graham Stephen in second position. So if Graham Stephen looks behind him, that gap is slightly smaller, although on that distance he would not be able to see it. We passed the halfway mark. 13.5 minutes into the 25 minutes. We're right on board with the mirror cam of Graham Stephen. Also using second gear coming through there. Very tricky corner, that one. Not easy to get through there in first gear. If you can get it right, it is blindingly quick. There's no doubt about it. Let's see where our Jalen Performance blimp is. Right upstairs. Through the left, through the right. From here on, it's hammer down. Underneath the bridge you go. Drop down. Get right to the outside. Nice and smooth through there. Rotate that car going over the start-finish line. 1 minute 16.3. What is Graham Stephen going to be getting at this point? A 1:16.3 and a 1:16.32. So slightly quicker. 3:3. 16.3 once again. And Sandro Bakari has decided to go into the pits. So Graham Stephen, Leon van Wyk and Timothy Stanton are within milliseconds of one another. Sandro Bakari, that's into the pits. Gerald Maget, that's coming into the pits as well. Leonardo Bakari will be on his way out of the pits in the not too distant future. He pulled in a little bit earlier on. And, well, he's actually standing there for a very, very long time. Is Leonardo Bakari going to be able to come back out again and be in a solid position? Gerald Maget's in the pits, which means that Pieter van der Spey is probably going to go to the front. There he comes down the pit straight. Pieter van der Spey's been in and out of the pits. Gerald Maget is on the pit exit. And Pieter van der Spey goes to the front. He's the lead man that's been in and out of the pits. But remember, he did have that incident. And although he had the incident, he has, since he came out of the pits, had lots and lots of open ground. Gerald Fourie comes in. Gerald Fourie comes into the pits. What about Graham Stephen? There comes Graham Stephen. What does Leon van Wyk do? He follows through as well. Timothy Stanton says, you guys can do that. Leon van Wyk is also into the pits. Daniel Lamprecht decides he's going in as well. Timothy Stanton has gone right past Herman Lazarus. Herman Lazarus also decides to go right past, and he will then move right up into that second position ahead of Gerald Fourie. So Gerald Fourie is going to be the first man to get away there. Who's going to be the next man to work his way out? The same order they came in. It's Leon van Wyk, it's Graham Stephen, and then Daniel Lamprecht works his way through. Sandro Bakari going to find himself now in 6th position with Pieter van der Spey not that far behind him. Half a minute in it, so he cannot take any chances. Leonardo Bakari only now coming out of the pit lane, so that is going to pull him up at the back end of the field. Timothy Stanton and Herman Lazarus have not yet been into the pits. Timothy Stanton, the lead car, out on circuit. There comes Herman Lazarus, 11 seconds behind him. Let's see, does Timothy Stanton decide to hold on to that lead position without any cars in front of him? Timothy Stanton comes in. Timothy Stanton comes in. What about Herman Lazarus? Herman Lazarus is going to come in as well. So, where is Gerald Fourie? There comes Gerald Fourie now, and Gerald Fourie's probably going to go to the front. Gerald Fourie has done it all right from the beginning of this race. It was only Willem Botha's error that opened up the doorway, and Gerald Fourie goes to the lead. Timothy Stanton is on his way out. Is he going to be able to get ahead of Leon van Wyk? No, there goes Leon van Wyk up the mountain, and he swaps directions as he goes across. Graham Stevens right in there behind him. Now the question bodes. 14 of the possible 20 laps, 17 and a half of the 25 minutes. Can Leon van Wyk, the being IT man, hold out on the Marlboro Porsche of the high-flying Graham Stephen? Can Graham Stephen catch him? What about Timothy Stanton? And the pace that Timothy Stanton is, can he actually hassle Graham Stephen, or does he just follow Graham Stephen through and hope that Graham can go and fetch Leon and then take the 77 Stanton car and put it in the mix? Sandro Bakari is looking pretty good. He doesn't have to worry about that man behind him because they are in different classes. Pieter van der Spey, with that incident that he had, finds himself 8th overall on circuit. Let's see who was the quickest on their standing still times. 9.1 for Gerald, 8.3 for Leon. That's why Leon's a smidgen closer. 7.1 for Sandro Bakari. That was pretty decent. The fastest lap just been put up by Gerald Fourie, 1:15.85 by Gerald. Leon a 16.1, a 16.5. Graham is closing on the last lap on a Leon. Timothy Stanton a 1:40. That's because he went in and out of the pits. A 16 for Sandro Bakari. So Sandro Bakari finds himself reasonably close. But remember, the Sky entry, that is the leading, using the track and some more. He's the leading Grandmasters entry. He doesn't really need to go past the cars in front of him. He's got Daniel Lamprecht and Herman Lazarus between himself and Pieter van der Spey. And that's a good 17 seconds further back. So, Sandro Bakari is looking for his Grandmaster's title. He can quite safely stay where he is. Hope Timothy Stanton can pressurize Graham Stephen as Graham Stephen catches up to Leon van Wyk and then take it from there. Look how close they are to one another now. Gerald Fourie doing it all right. Let's see what he does now. Gerald Fourie a 15.97. Leon van Wyk 16.1. Graham Stevens 16.3. Leon's just made up 2/10 on that one. Timothy Stanton's closed slightly down on the back end of Graham Stevens. Sandro Bakari has lost a smidgen of ground to Timothy Stanton. So that one is pretty much static at this stage of the fight. Let's have a look, see top speeds. Who's got some great turn of speed on any of those straights? 274 for Sandro Bakari. So somewhere he did a brilliant entry, apex and exit that gave him the one-off highest top speed of everybody out there so far. Remember this man, his name is Gerald Fourie. He's up, dusted and disappeared at the front. Leon van Wyk, the next man that's in there behind him. Yet another good showing by Leon van Wyk. Graham Stevens sweating to try and get onto the back of Leon van Wyk. Now Graham Stephen, there's very few that can run with Graham and or stay ahead of Graham Stephen on the extended runs where there's a long bunch of laps. You cannot easily beat out on the likes of Graham Stephen. He's super smooth, super consistent. Timothy Stanton doing a brilliant job. He's within a second of a Graham Stephen. Up into turn number 2 they go. Sandro Bakari is closer. Sandro Bakari is definitely closing down at this stage of the fight. Is Sandro Bakari saying, Timothy, you are too slow. I need to get a move on. I don't want the likes of Daniel Lamprecht to be able to... Oh, over that curbstone goes Sandro Bakari. He's pushing hard. He wants to get past Timothy Stanton. He knows Timothy's one of the neatest, cleanest, tidiest gentlemen out there. He won't get involved in anything that's going to cause damage to anybody else. Sandro Bakari, as he closes down on that back bumper, is there an opportunity to maybe go for the dive? I think he's too far back. I don't think Sandro Bakari, although he's closing pretty quickly, Timothy Stanton is going to close that line off. He puts it smack dead bang center in the middle of the circuit. Will he get the right drive coming out of the corner? Sandro Bakari, man that was racing last week Saturday at Killarney International Raceway in the sports and GT class, playing it nice and safe. Sandro Bakari just used that curbstone very lightly. Does an earlier turn in than what Timothy Stanton does. That's going to drift him wide and make it difficult to close up right here. He does use a lot of curbstone on that second half of the corner. The two of them trying to close down on Graham Stephen. How do you close down on somebody like Graham Stephen? Let it be said, with great difficulty, that you're going to be able to catch up to him. Along the straight they go. Blind Rise corner, you cannot see the exit of the corner until you're very close to it, and the wall drops away on the right hand side. There's actually a camper van that's parked on the right hand side just on the entry to that first and or second gear corner, and as that goes out of sight, depending on your field of vision, that's what you use, well that's what I used as a marker to be able to work their way through there. 23 minutes 20 into the 25 minutes, race number 1, round number 3, season number 13, as they work their way through. Oh, that was curbstone and a little bit of sand all at the same time. A 16-1, Gerald Verrees pulling away. Leon van Wyk a 16-2, a 16-7 by Graham Stephen, not catching him. 16-3 by Timothy Stanton. Timothy Stanton is closing on the last lap now on a Graham Stephen, but it's going to be too little too late, because at the end of the day this is probably their last lap as they work their way through. We are 24. There might be one after this. Yep, there could be one after this still, because we're on 24 minutes right now. So I do believe there's going to be probably one more lap after this one. He's going to get to the start-finish line possibly before we, probably before we get to the 25-minute mark. Sandro Bakari within a half a second of Timothy Stanton. We keep an eye on Gerald Verrees. Is this the penultimate lap, or is it the last lap? I think it's going to be the penultimate lap. He's probably going to get the white flag. Let's have a look, see, as he's going to come across the line. Let's see, where is the... There's the flagman. The flagman waves that white flag, says, Gerald, you got to keep on trucking, son. There's not much time left. There's just one more lap to go. Gerald Verrees. Then Leon van Wyk. Behind Leon van Wyk is Graham Stephen. Timothy Stanton with Sandro Bakari all over his back bumper. Then behind that, the Moser Racing new kid on the block. It's Daniel Lamprecht. Then behind that will be Herman Lazarus in the cheapercars.co.za entry. Then it is Peter van der Spey that finds himself ahead of Gerald Maget. And he's ahead of the trying to recover Willem Botha. But remember, on a full invert, Willem Botha will then go onto the front row of the grid, as he was in race number 1, as one of the 2 quickest qualifiers out there. And that'll probably mean that unless something goes wrong, somebody tips him or he makes a mistake, Willem Botha will probably clean up in race number 2, which will have a bit of a buffer between himself and the likes of Gerald, Leon, Graham, Timothy and Sandro. Taking it nice and smooth as he works his way through, not taking any undue chances at all. Through the dip he will go, and across the line he comes. Well done Look at that, Gerald Fourie. Next man through is going to be Leon van Wyk. There comes Graham Stephen. Behind that's going to be Timothy Stanton will be the next one to come through there. There's Graham. There is Timothy. Sandra Bakari comes across the line. Daniel Lamprecht. They were so close to one another. I actually missed that. Here comes Herman Lazarus. Peter van der Spey right in there behind him. A little bit further back we'll see Gerald Maget. He'll come up over the hill. He's 16 seconds further back in the 99 car. And then the recovering Toyota Gazoo Racing entry. And Quinto on the side of that motor car, Willem Botha, that comes across the line, and Leonardo Bakari has already completed his event. Oopsie, that was pretty close. There was Leonardo that you saw there. Alright, we're going to go into a 4-minute warm-up session, and while they do that, let us have a look at the overall results for that heat number 1. As soon as the computer has computed, there we go. Gerald Fourie by 6 seconds from Leon van Wyk. Nothing much between the two of them. Graham Stephen and Leon, nothing much between the two of them. And in fact, with Timothy Stanton and Sandra Bakari as well. Now, that 5 inverted coming off the back end of the pack, it's going to be what Willem Botha is going to be aware of. That is where the action's going to be. Sandra Bakari is going to find himself 3 cars behind the man that is fighting for the Grand Masters title. So that's the way that it plays itself out. We're going to take a short break and we're going to come back to you with the grid for race number 2. So let's have a look at that grid and see how this one is going to play itself out. Willem Botha and Gerald Maget going to be on the front row of the grid. Pieter van der Spey will lap up that idea of being on the second row with Herman Lazarus. Daniel Lamprecht finds himself ahead of the big 5. Sandra Bakari, Timothy Stanton, Graham Stephen, Leon van Wyk, and Gerald Fourie. My name is Gary Fleming, Second Gear Productions, and sponsored tonight by Jalen Performance. Round number 3 season number 13 of Masters and Grandmasters. Coming to you from Road Atlanta, doing battle in the GTEs. That is how your grid is going to look as they work their way around the calm before the storm. Inverted grid, all 11 of them inverted. Can Gerald Fourie come off the back end of the pack? Is it possible? Is it doable? This is what he sees right now. If he wants to pick up another win, he's got to pass every single one of those cars, barring one, the pace car. Ferrari alongside him, Porsche in front of him. He'll be chomping at the bit right now, saying, don't go wild, don't go crazy, just be smooth. Do it, Timothy Stanton. Be nice and smooth. Sandro Beccari is thinking, bide your time, don't take chances. Got to pick up a win on this one ahead of Peter van der Spey. Peter van der Spey is going to make up his mind. I ain't backing out for nobody, nothing, nowhere. I need to beat Sandro Beccari. Remember, they've now had a total of 5 races. 4 of those 5 has gone to Sandro. 1 has gone to Peter. He needs to level this one out now and pick up 2 wins as opposed to the 4 of Sandro Beccari. So uber important for Peter van der Spey on the second row of the grid to be able to make this one count. He's got Hermann Lazarus and Daniel Lamprecht between the two of them. The Jalen Performance blimp busy floating around upstairs as we watch the calm before the storm. They need a GPS for the blimp. Gets itself in all different positions during the course of the race. So here we go. As we go down towards the line, and it's going to be all systems go, and it's going to be Willem Botha. Green, 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 and that's away we go. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Down towards turn number 1 is Willem Botha. It's Peter van der Spey that's right in there, and Sandro Beccari was having a look on the inside of, trying to have a look on the inside of a Lamprecht. Wasn't able to make that one stick. It's Willem Botha, it's Peter van der Spey that's had a clean run. It's Gerald Murray that's in there behind him. It's Daniel Lamprecht, it's Hermann Lazarus. Then the first of the big hitters. Here they come. It's Sandro Beccari in the Sky entry. Oh, he's got Graham Stephen in there behind him. Then it's Timothy Stanton. Behind Timothy Stanton is Leon van Wyk. Gerald Fourie hasn't been able to make up any ground yet. There he is Gerald Fourie, and he's going to be right at the back end of the pack as they go through that very tight right-hander. Now they get the hammer down. Through the right-hander they go, and off they go. It's all systems go. It's flat foot from there on out. Willem Botha has got a bit of a gap from Peter van der Spey, who's holding out on Gerald Murray. The two of them have had a brilliant first lap. They've even held out the likes of Sandro Beccari as they go down into that 90-degree left-hander. Sandro Beccari takes a pretty decent line through there. Remember, Sandro Beccari's got Graham Stephen in there behind him. And with Graham Stephen behind you, you've got to go some. Oh, looks like Timothy Stanton has had an off. Let's see exactly what happened to Timothy Stanton. Going down in the fastest section of the circuit. He went for that inside line, and the back just locked up on him and turned himself around. So Daniel Lamprecht has gone into the pits, but Willem Botha is leading them out with Peter van der Spey. Peter van der Spey from Gerald Murray, the 108 Pro BMW entry. Holding out from Gerald Murray that's having the race of his life. Then it's Sandro Beccari. So one car between the two Grandmasters. Behind that is Graham Stephen, and Hermann Lazarus is all over his back bumper. Hermann Lazarus with Leon van Wyk. Let's go on board with Leon van Wyk and see what it looks like from there. Look at that, tantalizing. Sandro Beccari, Graham Stephen, Hermann Lazarus. That's the cars that's directly in front of him. He's got a very quick car behind him as well, but Gerald Fourie has not been overly quick on this opening lap. I think he's maybe going to dive into the pits and get away from the traffic. Look at that, closing off that inside line. Gerald Maget is going for that inside line, and he's going to hold it. Sandro Bakari's gone off. Sandro Bakari's gone wide, and that was Gerald Maget that was involved with that one as well. Herman Lazarus is going to be on the inside going in. And wow, Herman Lazarus, brilliant piece of driving. He held on to that one. That was brilliant stuff. That was utterly brilliant. Willem Botha up front, no problems for Willem Botha. Then Peter van der Spy. Then the man, oh, Peter van der Spy climbing over that curbstone. That was a brilliant four-wheel power slide as he came through there. Sandro Bakari still got Herman Lazarus between himself and the man. He needs to catch Peter van der Spy. Peter van der Spy is riding a immaculate race at this stage of the fight. Leon van Wyck's coming into the party now. He is doing a pretty decent job. Leonardo Bakari finds himself ahead of Timothy Stanton, who had the incident. Graham Stephen. Now surely Graham Stephen must have been in and out of the pits. Why else would he be that far back? Nope. No, that was Gerald Fourie that had a crash as well. Let's see how that one played itself out. Timothy Stanton went through. Oh, Gerald Fourie's had a heavy contact on the front end of that motor car. And he actually, I think he's going to bring it to a halt. I don't think that car wants to go much further. So, having won race number 1, Gerald Fourie in big trouble. Willem Botha, Peter van der Spy, Sandro Bakari, Herman Lazarus, Leon van Wyk, Leonardo Bakari, the recovering Timothy Stanton. Graham Stephen is into the pits. Gerald Fourie is into the pits. Daniel Lamprecht's going to work his way past them. And he will work his way up the hill with that one. Willem Botha, brilliant piece of driving. Just was one of the 2 fastest qualifiers for race number 1. Had that incident, couldn't recover it, was too far back. Now he starts at the front. You ain't going to catch that man very easily. Talking about that man, Peter van der Spy, he is trucking out there. A 15.5 by Willem, a 16.7 and a 16.0. That means that Sandro Bakari took 7/10 on that lap out of Peter van der Spy. That's keeping it nice and calm and smooth. Herman Lazarus is starting to put the pressure now in the cheapercars.co.za on the back end of Leon van Wyk in the Being IT entry. But BMW is looking pretty good out there right now of Herman Lazarus. Herman Lazarus actually having a very good outing. Leon van Wyk onto the back of Sandro Bakari. Now, oopsie! Oh, that was a brilliant recovery. Locked up that right hand back. It started to drift on him, feathered it, did some trail braking, and a massive recovery there for Leon van Wyk. Didn't actually lose much ground at all. Probably find if he was in first gear, he would have been in serious trouble. But being in the smoother power supply of the second gear through there is probably what saved him. Timothy Stanton is all over the back of Leonardo. Is he going to go for it up the hill? He probably will. He'll go for that inside line, and he will go up on the inside and take that one away. Will Timothy Stanton from Leonardo Bakari. Willem Botha up, dust, and disappear. Not going to let anybody get to him very easily at all. Peter van der Spy still holding sway there ahead of Leonardo Bakari from Leon van Wyk. Herman Lazarus, brilliant stuff. Recovering Timothy Stanton, who's now gotten ahead of Leonardo Bakari. Then there's big gaps from there on back. Who has been in and out? Daniel Lamprecht's ahead of Graham Stephen by 12 seconds. Daniel Lamprecht, Graham Stephen, Gerald Fourie, and Gerald Maget are the guys that have been in and out so far. So Daniel Lamprecht's looking pretty good. Don't count out that man, Leon van Wyk. doing a beautiful job putting the pressure on Sandro. Now, if Sandro's got to cover the fastest lines to be able to hold on to that position, that is going to be what Peter van der Spy needs. Look at that. He's in on it now. He's going to have a look up on the inside. And will he be able to make it stick? They give one another fair space. And Sandro Bakari says, okay, I'll let you go. But then you're going to go and fetch Peter. And I'm going to use your slipstream to get along, to get up to Peter van der Spy. In the meantime, 7 of the 20 laps, 8 minutes down. Peter van der Spy is not looking in the mirror. He's just looking in front of him. Peter van der Spy, he's got some open ground in front of him. That's what he sees. Head down. Golf jet pilot. Resident in Vredekkloof in Cape Town, the friendly city of Cape Town. He's turned the mirror away. There's no mirrors. There's no rear view camera on that one. He's not interested. He doesn't want to know what's going on behind him. All he's interested is that roadway in front of him. How deep will he run it into the revs? Right down to second gear. Beautiful line. What a lovely line. Oh, he's not going to lose any time there whatsoever. Willem Botha is 15.7. Peter will probably be on about a 16.5. 16.7, 2/10 slower than what we expected. 16.2, so Leon van Wyk is quicker. Also 16.2 is Sandro Bakari. Also, sorry, that's a 17.2 for Sandro Bakari. So Leon van Wyk has closed up a half a second. There you can see him starting now to try and close the gap. Peter van der Spy will not be too worried about Leon van Wyk. It's the man behind that he needs to worry about, because that's the man that is fighting for that Grandmaster's title. Keeping it nice and smooth, not taking any chances is Peter van der Spy. Where's Herman Lazarus? Herman Lazarus works his way down the hill as well. There comes Timothy Stanton. A 16.1 by Graham Stephen. Graham Stevens flying. Graham Stephen 11. I remember that one. Graham Stephen 11 seconds off the back of Daniel Lamprecht. Can he close that one down? Willem Botha once again doing a very quick lap. He's best. He's the only person to break into the 1 minute 15s. Willem Botha's best lap time of 15.51. The closest to that is a 16.03 by Sandro Bakari. So Sandro Bakari knows what he needs to do in this one as Willem Botha comes over the rise. He's got 9 seconds on a Peter van der Spy, who is in turn just under 2 seconds ahead of Leon van Wyk that used a whole lot of extra circuit there. Then it's Sandro Bakari. They've all still got to go into the pits. They're recovering Herman Lazarus in the cheapercars.co.za BMW GTE. Through that tight right-hander on his way down the hill. Timothy Stanton. Can Timothy Stanton close up at all? Let's have a look at the last lap times that they did. Timothy Stanton on a 16.4. Herman Lazarus on a 17.5. That's 9/10 of a second between Timothy Stanton's fastest, last lap and Herman Lazarus. So Herman Lazarus is going to have to keep the hammer down very, very hard if he's going to be able to hold on to that one. Willem Botha has gone through. Peter van der Spy has gone through. Leon van Wyk has gone through. Nobody diving into the pits. A 16.04, taking 4/10 out of Peter van der Spy is Leon van Wyk in the Being IT entries. Now 1.6 off the back end of Peter van der Spy. But if you add the two times together, Leon and Sandro, that makes about 3.9 seconds, actually a bit less, about 3.7 seconds now behind Sandro, between Sandro Bakari and Peter van der Spy. Can Sandro make that up? Yes, it is possible, but he has to be perfect on the lines. He has to make no mistakes whatsoever. He's got to be clinical on entry, mid-corner and exits. to be able to maybe catch up. But catching up is one thing. Peter van der Spy is not going to let him pass. There's no ways. He needs to get his second overall race victory. It's 5 versus 1 in terms of race victories. If Peter van der Spy doesn't manage to beat him out here. So it's very, very important for Peter van der Spy to keep this one nice and sweet. Leon van Wyk is now just more than a half a second off the back of Peter van der Spy. Will Peter van der Spy let him through so that he doesn't slow himself down? And then Sandro Bakari's got a bird's eye view of him. Or will he try and back Leon up, knowing that Leon will not allow anything to come through from behind, which will hold out Sandro Bakari? Choices that Peter van der Spy's got to make right now. Oh, under the braking, closing up heavily. Peter van der Spy just closing that line off just a little, but I think Leon's got it. Leon van Wyk's going to come up alongside Peter van der Spy, and Peter's not going to back out. Peter is on the inside line. If he can keep that trajectory that he's on, he will have the preferable entry into the left-right before they go underneath the bridge, over the rise, and down to the start-finish line. Peter van der Spy, does he close the line off? He makes it just narrow enough to hold on. But Leon gets the drive. Beautiful line. Leon van Wyk goes up on the inside. And Peter van der Spy decides time to go into the pits. Peter van der Spy into the pit lane. Leon van Wyk comes through. Sandro Bakari staying out in fresh air. In the Sky entry. Ferrari, obviously. It's what he loves. Sandro Bakari is always in a Ferrari. Leonardo is always in the Italiano, the Tifosi, the Ferrari. Lewis Hamilton making a massive impact on Formula One with Ferrari after the testing that he's done. And in fact, the testing that he's done so far with the tyre testing for Pirelli came up almost a tenth quicker than Charles Leclerc. Can you believe it? So far, so good for Lewis Hamilton. I think he's going back to hammer time. Timothy Stanton's closed the gap to Hermann Lazarus, but can he get past? Already 15 minutes in 12 of the possible 20 laps. Timothy Stanton to within 2 tenths. I think if Hermann Lazarus does not close that line off, it's going to be a dive up. Or he's going to be on the outside line coming in through. Will Hermann try and hold him out? They give one another enough space. Well done. That's the gentlemanly stuff that we're looking for in Masters and Grand. Willem Botha's come in. Willem Botha is into the pits, and Sandro Bakari comes straight past. Willem Botha's into the pits. Leon van Wyk has decided to come into the pits as well. So there's Leon van Wyk. There's Willem Botha. Hermann Lazarus has not been in. Timothy Stanton has not been in. Sandro Bakari leads the race. Forget about the fact that he hasn't been into the pits. He's up front and loving it right now. Remember, Peter van der Spy has been in and out of the pits, which makes him, in fact, third on track of the people in and out. It's only Willem and Leon that's in front of him. And he finds himself 2 seconds behind Leon van Wyk as we keep an eye on the leader, Sandro Bakari. There comes Timothy Stanton. Right on his heels is Hermann Lazarus. It's Willem Botha, the next man that's going to be coming through there. And he is the leading man that's been in and out of the pits. 16.5 minutes of the 25. Is Sandro, Timothy, and Hermann Lazarus going to come in on this one? With 6 seconds, Willem Botha to Hermann Lazarus. He will definitely jump Hermann Lazarus going. Oh, Sandro Bakari goes in. Sandro Bakari. Oh, yeah, that's as hard as you can go in there. Timothy Stanton diving into the pits. Hermann Lazarus. In he goes as well. Where is Willem Botha? Willem Botha's going to go past. There goes into the pit lane. Sandro Bakari stops. Timothy Stanton stops. Hermann Lazarus. Where is Leon van Wyk? Leon van Wyk's going to go through. Leon van Wyk goes up into that second position. Sandro Bakari is on his way out. Will he be ahead of Peter van der Spy? There goes Peter van der Spy. Is going to be a one-on-one for the next corner. Oh, they're going to make sure they don't touch one another. Who's going to? Nobody backs out, but it's Sandro Bakari in the Hublot Sky entry in the Ferrari versus the BMW. Sandro Bakari just ahead of Peter van der Spey. Now it's all systems go. Peter's got nothing to lose. He's got to try and equal out on that pace of Sandro. He's got to try and force Sandro into a mistake. Very difficult thing to do, to try and get a mistake out of Sandro Bakari. That's going to be battle royal. 0.8 of a second. Remember that one? 0.8 of a second. Willem Botha up, dust and disappear. Started on the front row of the grid in heat number 1. Had an incident. Dropped right to the back of the pack. A lovely set of rims he's got on that motor car. He finds himself 11 seconds ahead of Leon van Wyk, the man that's really come to the fore in terms of the planning, organizing, setting up and analyzing of everything sports and GT Masters and Grand Masters for 2025 is Leon. 3 seconds ahead of Sandro Bakari. Sandro Bakari is not worried about Leon van Wyk. He's worried about the man that is behind him, and holding on to within a tenth of a second is Peter van der Spey on the back end of Sandro Bakari. Vital position for Peter van der Spey, and Sandro Bakari, he's got to tip the balance in his favor here somehow. Sandro Bakari by a smidgen, by a half a car length, made up what he needed to in the pits. Peter van der Spey using everything. The curbstones, the rumble strip, the gravel on the outside, everything except for using the wall. There you see that camper van I spoke about on the right hand side that you use for the brake marker. Playing it safe, using that second gear. He's just a little bit too far back to pick up the slipstream, but he has stayed to within a tenth. He was 8 tenths, it's now 9 tenths between himself and Sandro Bakari. As we ride on board, we know they've all been in and out for the pit stops. It's 19.5 minutes, 5.5 to go. Peter van der Spey's got to put pressure on Sandro. Sandro's not going to make a mistake by himself. He probably won't even make a mistake under pressure. But Peter van der Spey has got to put the pressure on. It's now just under a second. So to within a tenth of a second, the two of them are 16.56 and a 16.66 within a tenth. Oh, you can hear the tires starting to slide underneath him, and he's caught up. He's caught up quite a bit. He's caught up 3 tenths of a second. Peter van der Spey is not out of this. Oops, he turned in a bit too quick and it take a little bit too much curbstone there. Peter van der Spey is on the outer edges of the limits, and he's closed on Sandro Bakari. What a riveting spectacle. We need to watch the other guys as well, but this is brilliant stuff. This is what we need to watch. The two Grandmasters going one on. Oh, he got the back wheel out onto the dirt. That cost him at least a tenth, and now it's 0.95, 0.96. Sandro Bakari's got good pace out of the corner, 0.97, 0.98. He will make it to just around about a square second by the time they're going to brake markers like that, to within 3 thousandths of a second. Peter van der Spey is very quick through this sector of the circuit. That time he did not get it right, did Peter van der Spey. Well, let's go back to where the front end is. Remember that guy, Willem Botha? He's driven into Thursday morning already. Willem Botha with the Toyota Gazoo Racing BMW GTE as he works his way around from Leon van Wyk in the Being IT entry. Leon must be very high on the club points at this stage of the fight. 5 seconds further back is Sandro Bakari. That's now taken an extra 2 tenths. It's now 1.1 between himself and Peter van der Spey. Timothy Stanton, he's lost that. Timothy Stanton was a 16.08. Peter was a 16.3. So he's taken 3 tenths. But there's only 3 minutes and 15 seconds left. Can Timothy Stanton catch Peter van der Spey? I think not. Herman Lazarus just a little bit further back. 6 seconds. He's staying just ahead of the new man, Daniel Lamprecht. Can't miss that car. Pink, blue and yellow. A definitive color scheme that he's got on that. It's nice the way the pink fades into the blue. 3 minutes to go, and you got to take your hat off to this man. 11 seconds, almost 12 seconds ahead at the front. Willem Botha, the man that heads up the Toyota Gazoo Dakar pit crews factory team for Dakar for the last couple of years. I think he's done about 18 Dakars already, working his way up to crew chief. Willem Botha, that's why he runs the Toyota Gazoo colors. Highly regarded, highly respected. This man, Willem Botha. Leon van Wyk in second position, 12 seconds, so he's lost 3/10, but it doesn't matter. He's in that second position. There comes Sander Bakari, and Peter van der Spy is not given up. Sander Bakari's got to keep an eye out because that man has not given up whatsoever. Make any errors with the Sky Hublot Topaz entry for Ferrari. One of two Ferraris out there, Leonardo, his brother, in the other one. He's got to keep it nice and smooth. The slightest error will tip the scales. You can hear as it bounced going over the curbstone. It's just flat foot all the way through there. Peter van der Spy has held to within 0.2 of a second over the last 4 laps. Peter van der Spy not being dropped at all. Will he go for a last gasp effort? He's got a big gap between himself and Leonardo, so he doesn't really have much to lose if he goes for all or nothing. But even on an all or nothing, the Sky 172 entry is very, very quick out there. Timothy Stanton in the Stanton car, also BMW. I think it's the GTE version that he's riding. Stanton Racing Team, the son of Rowley Stanton. Stanton Manifolds was started by his father, Timothy Stanton. He's got his own accounting firm. He knows how to count numbers and he knows how to find gears at the right spot. 24 minutes 44 in for Willem Botha. He's on his last lap. There you can see he's already got the white flag, has Willem Botha. The gap's starting to open up behind him now. 12.3 seconds ahead of everybody else, apart from one error. I think we've got to make Willem Botha driver of the day for this one. He was one of the 2 fastest qualifiers. One small error dropped him to the back of the pack. Oh, look at that. That's driving. That is a balance of brake and turn and brake bias to be able to get that 4-wheel drift going through there. And he does it lap for lap for lap. That's what makes him so blindingly quick out there. I think we're going to call Willem Botha driver of the day for this one. Gerald Fourie unfortunately did not have a great time for race number 2. Race number 1 was all about Gerald Fourie. Unfortunately not in the second one. As Willem Botha takes the checkered flag. He'll be super chuffed with that one. Coming under the Fox Factory Bridge is Leon van Wyk. He'll be the next man to come through and take the checkered flag ahead of Sander Bakari, who manages to beat out there on Peter van der Spy. Much to Peter's dismay with Timothy Stanton that was closing. Too little, too late. Herman Lazarus flying through that last corner just ahead of Daniel Lamprecht. Daniel Lamprecht acquitted himself very well. In fact, Herman Lazarus also acquitted himself exceptionally well. Gerald Fourie comes through. You won't be happy with that second result at all. Not what he wanted. Just did not have the pace. Leonardo Bakari finds himself just ahead of Gerald Maget. Graham Stephen looks like he's not going to be able to complete this one. There he takes the checkered flag. And Gerald Maget comes through behind that. Graham Stephen is out of it. He only did 10 laps in total. Wow. Let's have a look at that feature race and see what was the overall results on that one. The overall results for the feature race. Willem Botha, driver of the day. Leon van Wyk, once again, two brilliant results for him. Let's see, where was Leon on the qualifying? Leon was third in heat number 1. Leon was second. And in the feature race, Leon was second. So driver of the day, Willem Botha, Mr. Consistency title for this one does go to Leon van Wyk. That was utterly brilliant. Sandro Bakari, well, they've done 6 races. He's won 5 out of 6 ahead of Peter van der Spy. Just beating out on an ever-improving Peter van der Spy. And I think Peter might still be able to turn this one around. It's not done and dusted yet. This is only round number 3. We've still got a whole bunch of rounds to come. In fact, 9 still to come. Sandro Bakari is going to be doing any overseas traveling and miss out on any round. Peter van der Spy will go and grab those top points and maybe even be able to go one-on-one with him and beat him. But I mean, Sandro Bakari has become one of the best that we have out there. The success story of 2024, Timothy Stanton, coming around with the Stanton Racing team and finds himself a square second behind Peter van der Spy. From Herman Lazarus, who also had a very good night's racing, from our new man Daniel Lamprecht, Gerald Ferry, a win and an 8th, Leonardo, Gerald, and Graham Stephen. And I think there was contact between Graham Stephen and Gerald Maget earlier on, and that is what created that situation where they ended up right at the back of the pack. Well, that closes it out for today. My name is Gary Fleming, Second Gear Productions from the friendly city of Cape Town. Thank you very much for joining us. Join us next week, same time, 9 bells, when we go live with season 13, round number 4. Track and car still to be determined. The guys will be practicing Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday night. We'll be going live with them at 9 o'clock on Wednesday. From our side, Second Gear Productions. See you at a racetrack soon. Cheers, everybody.